Okay, Zach and Dr. Amanda. So with that as a backdrop, let's dive in here. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hey guys, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know what's cool is we always talk about some of these people listening, and who knows if they're seeing it on YouTube, but we always talk at our events about only bringing people to the table that we work with. Like that's like 99.9% of who we introduce to our community. And so just so these guys know, I don't think I mentioned it in the intro, and that is that Zach and I have hired you, associates have hired you, you're coming to the business scale. I mean, there's a lot going on here together.
Yep. I can't wait. So far, the people I'm working with are incredible. So I always think likes attract likes, and it's a good team.
Yeah, super excited to have you creating this alliance with you. And those who are out there and are listening and are not part of our associates, she actually hopped onto one of our weekly mastermind calls and actually blew the top off of it, and included a couple things called the 7 P's of profitability. I think that's a really cool place to start because our associates were blown away by that aspect, and I was writing down a bunch of notes. Can you just give us maybe a highlight of some of those ideas?
Or if it's in print, we could also put it in the show notes, but it probably isn't, right? Did you just do that day?
I did that day, but I can come up with a print form real easily. I'm good at that. Yeah, if you want me to dive deep there, how long do you want me to take? I can go really deep.
Back, maybe pick a few that you liked on that so we can ask some questions around it.
Yeah, I think we want to do let's just start with the first P.
Okay, well, how about this? I'll give all 7, and then we'll talk about the ones that you guys want to talk about. So the 7 P's of profitability. Number 1, perceptions. Number 2, productive action. Number 3, that was number 3. So number 2, purge perfectionism. Number 3, productive action. Number 4, powerful network. Number 5, performance habits. Number 6, P&L. And number 7, playfulness prizes. So number 1, perceptions. I think of perception as your mindset. So we have habitual ways that we think about ourselves, our other people, our business, our life, and that's our mindset. And we get stuck in ruts if we have a mindset that's not trained in a direction of success. We're going to our outer world is a representation of our inner world, and we're going to have a lot of crazy stuff happening in our life and our business. And we're going to think that it's out of control. And am I allowed to swear on here?
You do whatever you want.
Okay. I call it a shit storm. So like a shit storm comes your way when you're not in control of your mindset, when you're not the master of your mind. When you are the master of your mind, you see that your perceptions are aligned with success. You see failures as on the way instead of in the way. You are radically responsible for your outcomes. So that's my NFA mindset, which I think you said in the intro, you introduced it as it's the no fucking around mindset, where you go, I am radically responsible for my outcomes, which starts with my perceptions. If I see something as a big challenge that I cannot overcome, I'm going to already sabotage taking action. And I'm going to be stuck in that fear space, stay in my comfort zone. Whereas if I go, okay, I'm radically responsible for my outcome because my perception is fixed on me being the most incredible, awesome, empowered version of myself. Well, what would that person do? Would that person set their mindset set up for seeing failures as on the way? Would they see those obstacles as opportunities for learning? Would they take strategic action and reach out to the resources they know they have, or find new resources? That's how I think of perception. And honestly, I think that is the absolute pillar for profitability. You learning to be a master of your perceptions and be radically responsible for your outcomes.
So can we dissect that one a little bit?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So when you're I know you're already with some of our associates, but just when you're coaching people in general, general public, because a lot of listeners, what do you see as one of the biggest obstacles with just that one? Because we can go nuts here on all of them, but what's the biggest obstacle you've seen people trying to get through to master that?
In terms of perception, I think that people get really stuck, especially when they're building a business. They get really stuck comparing themselves to other people. They get stuck in fear, and they get stuck not wanting to take risks. They get stuck in this self-doubting. I've come to learn through all of the people that I've worked with, I've worked with people all the way from prisoners, all the way up to multi-millionaires who make millions of dollars in their business. Across the board, I don't care what gender, race, anything, who you are, self-doubt. Self-doubt is huge. So that perception of self where you're not enough, you don't have enough, you don't think you could be enough, you don't think you deserve it, those run pretty consistently through everyone I work with.
So how do you help them break? Go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna say, so we went over the problems now and the challenges. Now let's talk about some solutions.
Yeah, how do you help them with that?
Yeah. So mindset shifts, and I call them mindset switches, are really powerful. So in the first place, I start to talk to people about working with their inner critic and their inner mentor. So in a meditative way, I have meditations that I offer to people, and then affirmations. I started with affirmations, honestly. So I was in a really stuck victim mind space when I started this work. And the reason I became a coach is because it all started to work for me. And I thought, holy crap, this stuff is powerful. And people don't know how to manage and master their mind. We are stuck on a negativity bias because it's actually wired into our brain to operate under a negativity bias. We remember negative things 8 times more easily than positive things. And that's set up for survival. So we actually have to work to train our brain toward the positive. And the very first thing I have people do is affirmations. And I know I'm from Boulder, Colorado, so lots of people are like, oh, that's some woo-woo BS, you know. And I laugh and I go, you know, it sounds like it, but really you're all day either declaring positive affirmations toward yourself or negative ones. And most people who are stuck in that perceptual space of self-doubt and in their comfort zone, they're stuck in a negative. So you've got to actually do the work to train your brain in a new direction. I call this strategic habit building. So there's a term, it became really popular with the Atomic Habits book by James Clear, really incredible book.
Cool book.
For those of you who haven't read it. He talks about automatic and autopilot habits. So a lot of habits researchers will talk about autopilot habits. The cool thing about autopilot habits is if you have all of your habits set up for success and they're on autopilot, awesome. You're just going to keep growing and evolving and up-leveling. If they're set in a different direction, you got to train yourself. And one of the simplest ways is through affirmations and believing the affirmations. So starting to have an emotional connection to the affirmations, visualizing them coming true, seeing yourself as worthy, like really connecting with that new languaging around you are capable, you're confident, you're empowered, you know, you are the master of your life. So I like to start people with a 3-word affirmation. And so they come up with 3 words that they want to start to embody and become. You know, I love, in my business, I use inspire, transform, empower as kind of my overarching model. I got inspired, I committed to the idea and the belief that I could do it. Then I did the work to transform, and then I became empowered in certain areas. So I have people come up with a 3-word affirmation, and then anytime they notice themselves stuck in that perceptual space of self-doubt, use your affirmation and start training your brain, and then it starts to become autopilot. So it's a strategic way to shift your habits.
And do you have them journal that too? Like, I know you have them repeat it, but what else do you have them do with the affirmations?
Yep. Journaling, daily affirmations, meditation, a huge thing, you know, I have on number 4 is a powerful network. Who you hang out with really matters. So if you're hanging out with a whole bunch of complainers, obviously their mental scape is in a really negative place. That's going to rub off on you. So you want to hang out with people who have the perceptions of growth and that NFA mindset where they go, okay, I'm responsible for my life. I'm not going to blame everyone else for my outcome. And so that's a really important thing too. So journaling, hanging out with new people, attending events, personal daily growth and development. Got that mixed up in my mind.
If I'm sitting in the audience here now, I'm thinking, all right, well, you just labeled like 5 things that I have to do in order to get better at my mindset. So like, what is the number 1 thing you would have somebody start doing? Like as soon as I hop off this podcast right now, done listening to it, what's one thing they can do right now to start
besides hiring you?
Yeah, exactly. Hire me. That's the first thing you should do. Yeah. I like the subliminal messages, or not so subliminal. I would say for me, I started immersing myself in personal growth and development learning. So every single chance you get, and I love that you said that, Zach, because sometimes people get overwhelmed. We already, especially as entrepreneurs, right? Real estate investors, we have a ton on our plates already. and we're learning business and we're learning how to be better at sales and do all these things. Well, you are the common denominator among all your success. So you've got to become a master of yourself. Personal growth and development is something that you can do on the go. It's why I love podcasts so much. I think podcasts are probably one of the most brilliant gifts to the universe. When I was on food stamps, I didn't think I could figure out a way to pay for high level coaching. So I listened to podcasts when I was doing my dishes, while I was riding my bike, as I was running, when I was hanging out, driving my kids to school. Like, I mean, I just immersed myself in everything personal growth and development. And there are unlimited resources. This podcast, my podcast, I have a podcast called Max Potential Habits. Tons of great tips on there. I mean, you could go on and on, but just start really treating yourself like you are your greatest asset and nurture your mind with personal growth and development. That is the absolute first place I would tell everyone to start.
Zach, all this made me think of your piece at the Quantum Leap, the QLS Live event, where Zach went through the kind of the timeline of an associate, because we teach them all the same skill sets. But real estate's real estate. But now there's a lot of them are starting to, who are hiring you, especially, starting to realize, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff I got to work on between my ears, that the skill sets don't change.
Yeah.
Without using names.
Yeah, 80% of it is definitely mental when it comes to this. As when I first started in real estate, I realized that I used to beat the crap out of myself until I started succeeding. I started then emotionally tying myself to my results in real estate. And I try to tell all of the associates, you cannot do it. As soon as you do that, then your life is like a roller coaster. Absolutely beat yourself up 24/7 unless you're super successful, which I'm sure most people do.
Yeah.
At least I like to tell myself that.
Yeah.
You pass something, you just like skim by it, and I know some people know your background and your history, but you just said, all right, well, when I was on food stamps. So let's meet some people like where they are right now. I mean, now you're a successful coach, you've dived into personal development, you work with all these great people. But back when you're on food stamps, what were some key things other than a podcast that you started doing, those little baby steps that started moving your life forward?
Yeah, for me, I stepped into personal growth. It was interesting. It was a money and relationship thing at the same time. So I was married for 15 years. I left my relationship having an affair. My next relationship was falling apart, no wonder. And I was laying on the floor crying one night. And I was like, well, crap, I'm the center of all my problems. And I really had a moment where I was like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to shift into a different person, to have a great relationship and get out of this stuck situation I felt like I was in. And because I had no relationship, my ex-husband lost his job at the time. I had no child support. I was like, oh crap, I was terrified. I felt scared. And I was like, I got to fix myself. So I started listening to podcasts. And I love that you said this, because there is so much information out there. You could literally sit in your house all day, every day and listen to podcasts. If you don't implement and execute, nothing will happen. You have to execute on what you're learning. And that's something that I am a master of, and that I teach my people to be masters of, is applied knowledge, right? So you actually have to do something with what you're learning every single day. And it's those small degrees of change that will make massive shifts. So something I'd started with that was, it sounds probably hilarious to some of the people listening, because it was such a small step. I started saving $10 a week in my bank, autopilot. It was on automatic savings. And I was like, okay, I have all this student debt. I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I'm going to trust that if I start becoming more responsible with my money. I was good at like saving for a certain event, but I wasn't good at building up my long-term savings. And I wasn't good at making more money. And so I thought, okay, if I want to start making more money and attracting wealth to me, what do I do? And I started reading books about it, and it said, set up an autopilot savings account. So I call it my money magnet account. And every month, every week, I have an auto savings. So I started actually putting things into action and really testing them out on myself. So everything I do with my clients, I've tested out on myself, and it has worked. And I've had people say, what are you doing? Why is that working? And it's because I learn, implement, and then experiment, see what works, make adjustments, try something new. I'm really willing to fall down on my face and then ask people for help. So there's there's something that's really important about mentorship. You know, for you guys, for me, for everyone listening, there's always going to be someone ahead of you in the game and someone behind you in the game. So you want to be reaching out to the people who know more than you do in that area. You're going to probably know something more than them. You know, I had a lot of parenting skills. I had been a parent for a long time, and people were always coming to me because I have a really close relationship with my kids. So people were always coming for me there. Were people coming to me for relationship advice? No, because I was a mess in relationships. So they weren't. And now it's like, oh, cool. Now I'm really good friends with my ex-husband, and people are like, how did you do that? And so it's implementing, executing, and seeking out mentorship. So yes, applied knowledge would be my long answer to your question.
I'd love to pull another P out of the 7 Ps, but I wanted to ask this first, and this might be, you can maybe give it a 10,000 foot view, but without using names, similar to your story, can you give us like a cool story, like a cool before and after with your clients? Because I know we already have some in the community, but I want to jump outside the community on purpose so it doesn't sound like a commercial, and to see what's going on in your life with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I would say for people, sometimes it's very small perceptual shifts, and it can be a question dropped in the right moment where it changes their entire paradigm of thinking and way of being. And that moment, it's felt between coach and coachee, where it's like eyes fill up with tears, and it's this huge aha, and then so many things happen in their life and business that shifts that it's sometimes. I actually had a client the other day say, this is like sorcery. I don't know what kind of sorcery this is. And I'm like, it's really simple tweaks within your system. So, you know, I've worked with people across the board who I would say there's big epiphanies, and then there's sometimes fears that come up based on leveling up. And then there's working through that and then taking it to the next level. You know, I've had a woman, I was coaching her, and in the middle of our session, she's like, I need to go throw up. She actually had such a huge response to what we were working through. She threw up, and that doesn't sound, it's not a great advertisement for myself, but it was a really huge revelation that she had been stuck with for 40 years. She had the same belief system. And then all of a sudden she realized this is the missing piece the whole time of what I needed to know about unblocking my money flow. And then it completely changed her reality. So, you know, it's a wide variety of things. And I think coaching is hard. You know, in real estate, you get to go, oh, I have this many, I know you guys call it take-ins or solds, or, you know, new buyers, leases, whatever it is. In coaching, it's like, how do you categorize the intangible? When people have mental mindset shifts, it can lead to millions of dollars for them. It can lead to a whole new relationship. And it's sometimes hard to capture, but people, it's a shift in the way that you show up. And I think the biggest gift that it gives people is lowering that self-doubt voice. And for me, when I look back at my history, it's like I used to sit in class in my grad school classes and among my colleagues, and I would turn red and sweat, and like my heart would race. And then afterwards I'd be like, did I say the right thing? Did they think I was smart? I mean, on and on and on. I just used to beat the crap out of myself, and it doesn't happen anymore. My mental space is not taking up with that. Now I can sit and talk to you and just be in the present moment and go, oh, cool, let's hang out together. I can hang out with multimillionaires and not feel intimidated. Whereas before that would have been completely overwhelming for me. So I think a huge shift I see for all people is more confidence, always more money, better relationships. Those three things are huge. You know, and if you look at those three things as the kind of the things in life that we're really seeking out, is like, we want to be confident, we want to love ourselves, we want to love the people we're hanging out with, we want to be great leaders, and we want to have a larger impact and make more money. So those are some of the, is that specific enough for you?
Yeah. I mean, Zach, you might have a comment because on this piece, because you brought, so to speak, brought Dr. Minna to the table, because we were looking for this whole missing link with the real estate. We could teach, and this was a block. So I don't, people say, oh, you're doing a commercial again, Chris, but the fact is we wouldn't have you on here if we weren't using you. So I don't know if Zach has any comments about that whole piece and why and how he brought you to the table.
Well, I think mindset is, I want to say it's like optional. It's unfortunately optional, because most people are not going to seek out to change their mindset, to change their habits. Most people are more than okay with just being comfortable. So when Chris and I and Nick and some of the other teammates, as one of our core values is to constantly innovate and improve, we're always seeking a better way to improve ourselves mentally, physically, our business, to scale it. But not everybody is. So we were seeking outside sources to figure out how can we bring more of this mindset to the table instead of them just listening from us. Because sometimes, as we're working through the process, we're teaching people how to buy and sell real estate. Not everybody is going to engage with us as much as we want to on that mindset piece, which we covered earlier. It's a huge part of being an entrepreneur. So I was constantly seeking outside advice, and me and Amanda connected on social media. So people say social media isn't that great, but trust me, if you can find the right person on there, or the right people to stay connected with, it's huge. So that brings me to that other P, which was it's something to do with surrounding yourself with people. So can you clarify that one?
Yeah, your powerful network.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, what is the saying? The millions are in your network, or there's some really cool saying about it. Sometimes I'm bad at sayings, but I know that we forget sometimes how important it is to plant seeds and connections. So I love that you brought that up on, we met, I think it was on Instagram. And it's funny because, I don't have a massive following on Instagram. Some people have thousands, millions. I've got, I think I have around 1,700 followers. In that 1,700 is gold, because I nurture connections. I nurture relationships. When Zach and I started talking, we're like, hey, how can we create some win-wins? And Zach was really good at leading the way there. And I look back at that and I go, how cool is that in my network of people, we only have 6 degrees of separation. Some people say 7, but between me and knowing everyone in the world is 6 degrees of separation. So who are the people you want to be connected to? When you're thinking about a powerful network, you're always thinking win-win. That's what successful people do. That's what leaders do. They're thinking, how can I create a win-win situation here? And as Zach and I started talking about working together, it was really cool, because we're like, oh, I want to bring something really powerful to your team that helps your team thrive. And you get to bring more clients to my coaching business to help NFA Coaching grow. And it's this beautiful win-win. And then the people you work with are winning. And then the people they're working with are winning. So you're having these primary, secondary, and tertiary benefits to the whole world. And that increases your impact and your income. So your powerful network is, you're looking for people who are of the mindset of win-win, people who are looking to learn and grow and connect, people who are looking to have a millionaire mindset and $1 million plus in the bank. Like, those are the people I look for to be in my network. And of course, I work with lots of people who aren't millionaires yet, but they have the desire and the commitment and the belief that it's possible for them. And then I get to be a part of carrying them along the way. Well, not carrying, showing them the path and them doing the work to get there. And so it's, I think that networking is incredibly important, and you never know what's going to come from it, because sometimes you'll meet someone in the moment and they're like, oh, I don't want to work with you yet. That doesn't mean ever. It doesn't mean they're not going to refer 10 people to you, or 20 or 30, or invite you to speak, or do all of those things. So I think that sometimes we get a closed mindset about who we want to connect with. And instead, it's that idea of turning it toward, how can I create a win-win? How can I connect? How can I learn from you? How can I seek out mentors and be a mentor? And then you're creating a powerful network.
We talk a lot about closing the gap, Amanda, and that means in real estate, just so you get an idea. But and this is why Zach did what he did with the relationship, the gap between someone going to a seminar and someone doing a deal. And as we said earlier, a lot of it's up here, but yeah. Don't think that. They think, oh, that didn't work, so I'll go do the next shiny object. That niche didn't work, so I'll go rehab. And they just go round and round and round. And I'm saying that because it's sort of our specialty, Zach, wouldn't you say? Like that's where we thrive in the real estate training world, and bringing you in is just closing that gap right in line with what we love doing. So I don't know if that was consciously or something you guys talked about, but that is absolutely what we're doing here with your relationship.
Yeah. I don't think it was consciously. I just think as most of our business, Chris, as you can allude to, has evolved, we go with the energy, and it tends to work out. I mean, call that faith, but if you continue to work really hard at something and you let it go, it tends to work itself out. Amanda, you mentioned the millionaire like mindset, and you said that you want to surround yourself with people that have that millionaire mindset. So what does that look like from your perspective?
It's people who, I talk about the victim versus the victor mindset, and that's part of my NFA construction of going, okay, NFA mindset has to do with you think like a millionaire, you act like a millionaire, you strive like a millionaire, all of those things. And it's coming out of that victim place. So you're in a radical responsibility mindset where you go, okay, what do I want to create? And do I believe I can create it? And getting whatever blocks are in the way. A lot of people get stuck in the deserve, and it's unconscious. They think, I want that. But if you're not getting there and you're not taking action to getting there, then my job is to help you see that your blocks that are unconsciously preventing you from getting where you want to go. So, it's that desire and starting to take action. So, I have had consults before with people who were like ready to work with me. And I'm like, nope, I don't want to work with you because you don't have that mindset set up to do the work. And it takes strategic action. It takes action. It takes desire. It takes belief. Sure, you're going to run into blocks that I can help you uncover. But if you don't have that initial feeling of I'm ready to shift in a direction and put my energy, my heart, my money, my time into it, that to me is a millionaire mindset. And if you do that, like you just said, if you put work in a certain direction, it'll eventually happen, right? So if you have a millionaire mindset, you see what you want, you have your why clear, you have a clear vision, and you know and you trust that if you take action every day, over time, it's inevitable that it's going to happen.
Dr. Amanda, one of many wrap-up questions I usually have, and then we'll get back to kind of trying to get some cool things to close out with. But one of them is, what book you're reading or what book would you recommend? And the other day you shared some books with us. I already got them. Some of the members already got them. Could you share some of those? I think it was nice. Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love Joe Dispenza. So that one is called, so he has two that are really, really powerful. I would start with breaking the habit of being yourself. So his is really, he does a lot around brain work with meditation and thinking about how to change the belief system around who you are so you can become who you want to be. And he's incredible. He's gained a ton of traction in the last several years. I mean, he's been growing his business for quite a long time, but he's like powerful in really practical applications to use meditation to shift in a new direction and believe that you can become someone new and then have it actually happen. So I do a ton of his work. I've created meditations based on the philosophy around we are the creator of our reality through our thoughts. So he's very in that line of thinking.
Before you give your second book, because I'll lose this thought. I don't know if you guys saw the movie, The True Story of Elton John. Have either one of you guys seen that? I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, so
I have not.
You haven't seen it? He basically said it was either him. No, it was definitely him or a guy sitting next to him gave him the advice you just said. You got to break down. Say what you said again.
Oh boy. I don't know.
Joe Dispenza. You got to break down this to get.
Basically, let go of all of the beliefs around who you are to become who you want to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
He basically, that was his whole thing to the movie like 3 or 4 different times. It wasn't a mentor, just a guy speaking in his ear. But that's cool. I had to say it before I forgot it. Yeah. What was the other book you gave for him?
Another one is it's called Becoming Supernatural. And for anyone listening, if you haven't read any of his work, I would definitely start with Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's a little bit more basic, and then and it's not necessarily basic. It's got a ton of great stuff in there. His whole philosophy is based around quantum physics. And so people will hear the idea of manifestation and vibration and frequency, and they're kind of like, is that real? It absolutely is. There's measurable ways that I could test your frequency, Chris, right now, and mine, and see if they match. And if yours is higher or lower, and your energy changes around it. So I do values work with people and help them step into I call it your genius juice, which helps you be in your zone of genius and really be empowered. When you're in your highest values, your frequency is higher. They've done all kinds of brain research to show, and when you're meditating, and brain research shows that when you are living in your highest values, you'll actually have a higher frequency, and you'll have different brain brain areas of your brain lighting up. So his work is all based on that kind of stuff. So I'm really into that, that way of thinking about how we have way more power than we think to actually control and dictate our outcome. So it's, yeah, powerful stuff. So Joe Dispenza, awesome book. Go start there. It's a great one.
Zach, what's hot on your brain? What's hot on your brain as we wrap up?
I'm just digesting it, and I was just taking a pause there because you went through some major things right there that I think people need to take into account, which is this isn't woo-woo stuff. And me and Chris are from New England, so it's
say that again. Woo.
Woo-woo.
I just want to hear you.
Isn't that a thing? This isn't woo-woo stuff. This is real stuff. This is, you can actually take a look at from quantum physics. This is physics. This is doctors, engineers, people that work and break down the molecules in order for you to attract the things that you want in life.
Yeah.
Your internal or your external is a reflection of your internal. So really important that each and every one of us takes the time to think about what we want to do with life, to have a clear vision, to manifest, to take actions that are actually going to move us towards our goals. So that was just such a powerful segment there, where it was, this isn't fake. We're not just yogis sitting there meditating doing nothing. We're manifesting something and then taking action in order for this thing to accomplish.
Well, Zach, to that point, you got one or two, and one of them a man is working with, but you have some people in the associate levels now, it doesn't matter what level, that are literally, it's like a switch was flipped because they started working on this stuff. So I'm going to make sure this episode goes out before year end. So I'll say this: can you imagine the transformation that is possible with you, your life, your business, especially the people that have been going in circles looking for the next shiny object, not having access to this powerful stuff? Think about 2020, what that can do for you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love the question, what's possible? Just thinking about possibility and solution thinking. It's just, instead of going, can I have this? Am I capable of this? You go, how can I is a really useful mindset switch. So asking, how can I? And then also just asking yourself, what's possible? What's possible? Really, they're like, and I can say this because I've experienced it. I think the benefit and beauty of my history is that I've gotten to overcome huge challenges and go, holy moly, you can dramatically change yourself fast if you want to, and have the right tools, the right mentors. If you're seeking that out, you can create a magnificent life and business. It's up to you.
Well, we could probably chat for 2 hours. We're gonna. No, we could. I love it. I absolutely love it. So a couple things. They can do that. They can meet you at the Business Scaling Secrets event, and I'm sure the next event. But the next event they're going to hear this will be Business Scaling Secrets. They can also go to smartrealestatecoach.com/NFA and get. Am I okay saying a free consult with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. That's I set up, I always do that because I think we need to know if we're a good match. I want you to understand what I'm like, and you'll get a huge takeaway in the consult. I like to make sure that people have takeaways even there. So free consult, set it up, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. So to get these guys to the quote unquote next level, is there anything, one or two nuggets you think you want to share that we didn't ask about? I know there's 50,000, but is there one or two you think you want to share before we jump off?
I think, I always like to give action steps. I give action steps every week to the people I work with. And I think pretty much all my podcasts, I always say, give kind of a charge to action. And it's like, I would say today, if you're stuck in a place of thinking that you're not worthy, you're not capable, or even you are, and you just want to take it to the next level, start looking to mindset stuff. Work on your thinking and start to be your own greatest inner mentor. Be a mentor be a person who says things to yourself that you would want to say to someone you love, like your kids, or, start to boost yourself up, lift yourself up with those courageous, confident thoughts, and know that you can start stepping into that reality. I have a great meditation affirmation kit. I've got all kinds of great stuff. Go to your link and set up an appointment with me. I can give you all kinds of great resources. But I'd say start with come up with your 3-word mantra today. So the one we talked about at the beginning when we were talking about affirmations, come up with 3 words right when you're done listening to this podcast. Write it down. Think of 3 words that you want to become. Write them down and use those words over and over. Put them on the screen of your cell phone. Print them out and tape them in your office and just start going. Like mine, I for a long time, I used a 4-word one. It was, I am poised, confident, caring, and inspired. I am poised, confident, caring, and inspired. And I just would say that anytime I started to feel self-doubt, I'm poised, confident, caring, and inspired. And it just shifts your energy so quickly. So come up with a 3 or 4-word mantra, do it right when you get off of this, and start implementing it into action immediately.
Oh, I love it. And if you're brave enough and you're watching this on YouTube and you're not just listening to the show, post it right on YouTube. Post it.
Yeah,
post it
that'd be awesome.
Cool. Zach, last minute nuggets?
No, I just think it's an absolute no-brainer. So I would go to smartrealestatecoach.com/NFA. She's giving you so much free content here and loves to speak with you for a consult, and will give you a nugget. So if anything, in order to start your 2020 off on a good note, she's giving you multiple action items. Create your mantra. Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/NFA. Get some nuggets. And create a fantastic 2020. I mean, if your life is not what you want it to be right now, then next year you got to start creating it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being on, both of us. Both of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Great to be here.